So my research question is what types of content are being posted under the hashtag fitness motivation on TikTok? And then like a separate branch off of that is what is the frequency of gender references under this content?
So my research question was how often do people post negative comments, for example, like indicating jealousy or negative comparisons on young ballet dancers' Instagram posts?
So my research question was whether user reactions to positive ESPN posts about female and male athletes differ in tone and nature.
I have kind of two sort of research questions, but I'd say my main research question is what is the health related content in the gym and fitness TikTok space?
Yeah, so my research question is how do videos on TikTok in terms of quality and user interaction compare between those made by healthcare professionals versus non-healthcare professionals. I'm actually looking at how videos that discuss cardiac chest pain compare in terms of quality and user interaction between those made by healthcare professionals versus non-healthcare professionals. So it's not just like overall content, it's like more specifically like chest pain content.
So actually, I was kind of interested in this topic specifically from my own experiences with motivation. So for the past few years, I've tried to like work out at home and stuff like that, but it just never worked for me because I'd always lose motivation halfway through and just give up and say, oh, whatever, I don't really need to do this. So at the start of the summer, actually, I started getting a lot of TikToks on my For You page just about like different exercises and different ways to better yourself. So I said, okay, I'll take the step forward, I'll get a gym membership, and I started going to the gym. So I guess what kind of made me want to go into this specific topic was to kind of research and analyze how social media specifically takes motivation and how TikTok creators create content for their viewers under this motivation kind of umbrella.
This topic was interesting to me because I've been dancing for a couple of years now, and I was intrigued by how social media, especially Instagram, can have such a big influence on dancers. And I've witnessed this happening myself, so I wanted to dig a little deeper. And as someone who uses Instagram frequently, I sometimes go into the comments of reels related to ballet dancing, and I noticed how many comments were about body image, which is what led me to pursue this project.
I've always been interested in this sort of thing. I had the opportunity to interview Catherine Switzer, who's the first female to run any marathon in 8th grade, actually for like an NHD, a National History Day project, which is really, really cool. And she shared some of like the unbelievable stories about how it was hard to be a female athlete during that time, as you can probably imagine. But I didn't know like how recently some of these like really big barriers were still around. And as someone who I just like use Instagram on a daily basis, and oftentimes it's to just watch like sports content and like my favorite NBA teams and stuff like that. So I've noticed, just like by not intentionally, but like I've noticed that female athletes kind of have a lot of negative comments, and I was wondering if this was just because I've like developed a keen eye for it in specific, or if there was in fact like a quantitative difference. I was wondering if this could actually be a problem for like young female users of Instagram, whether they're athletes or not, or males as well, by like reinforcing like negative kind of connotations surrounding female athletes. And if you're a young middle school or high school girl who wants to maybe go collegiate or pro in sports, it can kind of be really discouraging to continuously see the people at the elite, the women at the elite level getting put down.
I think what I've enjoyed most about Summer Research Scholars is the freedom we have to do our own project, to work on our project in like our ways. No one's telling us like a step-by-step formula at each time. I think it's nice to have these deadlines to keep us on track, but we're able to do things how we want and how we know fits our learning styles. I think that's really important because not everyone's going to fit into the same box every time. So I'd really enjoy the freedom that we have.
I've enjoyed my mentor meetings just because I've got to learn a lot from my mentor and like interacting with her. Yeah, that's always been great. I love that. She was the one who interviewed me for like the initial program. It was great having her as my mentor, so I really like that. I also really loved all the research workshops, like the team ones. I found it really cool how there'd be like different mentors within the research team leading those each time. Um, and yeah, I also really loved the career panel. It was amazing, got a lot to learn. Um, all I wished was maybe if we had a little bit more time to talk to like the panelists, that would have been amazing. But glad I had the chance.
I think specifically about my findings, something that kind of surprised me was the lack of kind of gender references. So when I went into this, I thought that there would be a lot of like specific things that are categorized as like girl things or female things, and then categorized as like boy things under the motivational aspect, because that's kind of what I observed before. But under this specific hashtag, what I noticed was a lot of these motivational videos were targeted around just a general audience. It wasn't these motivational tactics only for girls or only for boys. So it kind of was kind of surprising because I wasn't expecting to see that, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So I think I noticed it was one thing to document kind of the negative comments that were more like explicitly, obviously negative, but it was harder to capture some of like the intentionally dismissive comments that it eventually I bucketed it under a like unrelated category, but that was definitely like something that I found like kind of surprising, like how like even though it's not direct, for example, like if it's a female post about a WNBA player, then and there's comments that say like the NHL finals are on right now. It's not necessarily negative technically, but it kind of there's a it's dismissing the achievement that the female athlete had and what they're trying to get across on ESPN. I was also surprised about how, despite looking at only 5 days for males versus I looked at 19 days for females, to the total number of engagement, which was number of likes and number of comments, was vastly higher for male athletes and female athletes.
Yeah, something that's definitely surprised me is like in my data I've gotten like over 70% of the videos didn't actually fit into a specific category, which seems like a big number, and it is bigger than I would have expected, but also in the grand scheme of things, 30% of videos around that promoting health related content is definitely a significant amount, like given how big and how vast TikTok is. But it was definitely surprising to me that it's like 72% of the videos I found were just like people working out with no information, with no advice at all. And that's something I definitely initially overlooked.
So something that was really surprising and interesting that we found in this study is that the verified profiles received little to almost no negative comments, where it was like the opposite for unverified profiles. And this could be because most of the people who commented on the verified profiles were other verified profiles. And something also that surprised me was that the negative comments were significantly higher if the person wasn't actively dancing, which is actually the opposite of my hypothesis. And in my hypothesis, I thought that the reels where people were actively dancing would get the most negative comments, but it was actually reversed.
Yeah, I think something that surprised me is like the differences in opinions regarding like potential causes and like self-diagnoses that people have like discussed in the comments in the videos. Like some examples were like some did in fact comment and discuss that it might be like precordial catch syndrome or like I don't know how to pronounce it. I think costochondritis, not sure how to pronounce that, but yeah. And then there's like a bunch. Some people think it's heart attack, some people think it's like acid reflux and all that. It's really interesting to see how many different opinions there are on this. And then as for the potential causes, I'd say most of them were pretty inaccurate, but it was so interesting to see what people think, because some thought it was their asthma, some thought it was because of running, some thought it was stomach aches and all that stuff. So I found that really surprising and interesting at the same time. Yeah, so I wouldn't say I've encountered that many challenges, just because I feel like I've been supported really well by my mentor and like the whole team itself while facilitating the workshops. Maybe I would say a challenge I encountered was like managing my time because of like the data collection. It did take a while, especially considering I went through like the videos and then comments from each of those videos as well. And so I would say a challenge was like managing my time, but that's more of like my own thing. A success I've encountered is I feel like the research proposal and everything that I outlined, it actually turned to like work out, especially the variables that I identified. At first I wasn't sure if like the variables would work out. So some of the variables I chose for my comments included like similarity. So do people in the comments express similarity with the TikTok? Like they also experience chest pain. Intensity, so like how they describe their chest pain, frequency, how often, like I said, the potential causes and self-diagnosis that people made. So all those variables, they did in fact work out. I also wanted to use something called the global quality scale. I wasn't sure if it would work out just because I thought most of them would be getting like the same score, but turns out that there was actually like a difference in the scores they got, and the scores actually turned out to be a bit lower than I expected. So I can explain a little bit about the global quality scale. Yeah, so it's basically like a scale used to actually like determine the quality of videos. Like you score, and there's like a different rubric. This is something I've added onto my research poster for my presentation, just because I feel like people don't really know about this, and so it would be helpful to like have like a little rubric explaining what it actually is. And so yeah, it's scored from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. And so 1 is basically like, yeah, this TikTok, it has no information, no education, I would not recommend this to patients. 5 being, yeah, it's like really, it's really detailed, it covers important topics, and I would definitely recommend this to a patient. And yeah, so I thought the rating would be probably like a 4 to 5 or like a 4.5, something around there. It turned out to be like 3.85, which isn't like drastic big difference, but yeah, I still thought it would be a bit higher. But yeah, those are some
Well, I've done
successes.
like scientific research in past summers, but never anything related to social media engagement or this type of study. And I think I've definitely grown from it in a lot of ways I could have never really anticipated. I think specifically to the project, one challenge is making sure to be consistent about how like the buckets I was categorizing my the comments under, like for my content analysis, and like kind of like tweaking the code book, but making sure I'm being like double checking and being really consistent to minimize like any biases and whatnot. And another challenge was figuring out how to capture it. So like when I didn't even know this was a thing prior to starting actually this project. I guess it shows I wasn't up to date on Instagram, but they have now like GIFs on like comments. You can leave a GIF as a comment as opposed to just text. So I kind of quickly noticed that there was a lot of like GIFs that were negative towards female athletes. There's also some positive and some positive for males as well, but it was like, who cares? Like, and there's like 5 of them in a row with like over 100 likes on each one. But I didn't know how to account for that because it wasn't direct English text. So that was definitely like a challenge, like having to like accept that I'm not gonna be able to capture everything. And yeah, so that was excluded from my code book, but sticking to like the English text.
So a challenge that I've encountered through this project is like finding the best graphs to express the results that we found, since there's just so many different formats of them. And another challenge would be determining which variables each comment would fall under was also a challenge. And then a success would be that we were able to get a really good, diverse set of data. The most valuable piece of information I would have taken away would probably be learning how to code the data, and this was a new experience for me, and I can use this in my future research skills as well.
I think one of the most valuable things that I've taken away from this is, I guess, firstly, how to create a professional but also like meaningful relationship with a mentor. So I've been working with Chelsea Olsen for the past 6 weeks, and also Maggie Cooper for a little bit of the last 6 weeks. So by being able to kind of communicate with them over Zoom and over Google Chat and stuff like that, and learning how to keep that professional kind of basis and but also feel comfortable to ask questions has been a really valuable skill I've been able to learn. And then also being able to kind of be guided through the poster making process. So if I ever do want to make a poster in the future or something like that, I do have some experience. So I think that those are the main 2 valuable skills. and kind of information that I've been able to learn from this program?
So my mentor kind of pushed me to run my own statistics using like online software, and I really liked being able to run my own t-test and chi-square test because it's something it's very applicable and I can use it for any research going forth. And yeah.
I think the most valuable like lesson I've learned, it's nothing like in specific like, oh, if you want to find good inclusion criteria, do this. I think it's more of like an overall thing I've learned is that it's really important to collaborate because I've got so much helpful advice from my mentors and other scholars in this program. And I think now that I'm incorporating it into my poster, which I'm still finishing up it's coming up soon, but now that I'm including those, I feel like way more well-rounded. I'm seeing a new perspective than I was previously. And I think I have a different style of writing than you might, or someone like even downstairs, my mom might have a different style of writing than me. So it's really important to get everyone's input. At the end of the day, it is my poster, but it's really important that I make sure that it's like helpful and understandable to everyone.
Yeah,
So.
being really detail oriented is super important, and that's a skill that I took from this program. I'd also say communication is a skill that I think is really important, not just for this program and not just because I've learned it from the program, but just even overall, like communicating with my mentor, of course, for any feedback and being really open to talking. And yeah, even with the research workshops, if I had a question, I would obviously I would raise my hand. Like I wouldn't be afraid to talk or ask for other opinions, considering there's like my peers are also in that group meeting and a lot of other mentors. So having like varied opinions again, I always found that helpful. So communication as well.
I enjoyed like getting walked through the whole research process kind of like step by step and like conducting your own research project in such a short time frame. And I really like the one-on-one meetings with the mentors because they can like help you with like specific aspects of your project. And then the thing that I most liked is that you get to pick a topic that you're passionate about, so it's not like a set topic. Like for example, for me it was ballet, and this can like keep you interested in the project and it can help you like expand your knowledge on this project, and I know that happened for me.
I think what I've enjoyed most about Summer Research Scholars is the freedom we have to do our own project, to work on our project in like our ways. No one's telling us like a step-by-step formula at each time. I think it's nice to have these deadlines to keep us on track, but we're able to do things how we want and how we know fits our learning styles. I think that's really important because not everyone's going to fit into the same box every time. So I'd really enjoy the freedom that we have.
So yeah, I think it's definitely a different experience than I've had before, and I didn't really know exactly what to expect going into it, and I've been really, really impressed. I really appreciate the one-on-one mentorship. I think that was really helpful, and overall I think it was really impressive that in such like kind of a short condensed time frame we've learned so much about how to do research, from like thinking about how to form a question to data collection to data analysis, and then now into kind of the presentation. And I think I've learned a lot about how to do like valid, legitimate research within an area that is sometimes really hard to kind of capture, like quantitative, traditional like research. It's kind of, yeah. And it was also just, I'm kind of more generic, but it's really nice to see everyone else's topics as well, and kind of the different methodology they used to get to their answers, and how like there's so many different paths to take and whatnot. Yeah.
I've enjoyed my mentor meetings just because I've got to learn a lot from my mentor and like interacting with her. Yeah, that's always been great. I love that. She was the one who interviewed me for like the initial program. It was great having her as my mentor, so I really like that. I also really loved all the research workshops, like the team ones. I found it really cool how there'd be like different mentors within the research team leading those each time. And yeah, I also really loved the career panel. It was amazing. Got a lot to learn. All I wished was maybe if we had a little bit more time to talk to like the panelists, that would have been amazing. But glad I had the chance.
What I really enjoyed most about this, and what I really appreciate from the people who've like created this and kind of organize this is actually the organization. So from the start of the process, I was mailed a whole packet of the guide. So initially I was kind of overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, this is a huge undertaking. But kind of looking at how much thought went into the organizational process of making sure that this is catered to high school students and that making sure that we're able to learn something from this was extremely valuable. And again, I think the organization, since I value organization a lot, being able to kind of know this is when this is due and this is the kind of template you want to follow has been really helpful and something one of the reasons why I would recommend this program to someone else.